Hi, welcome to NeuroScoops, where I take big concepts in neuroscience and scoop them into meaningful, understandable concepts. This process is known as chunking and is highly effective in learning and memory. Today, for NeuroScoops, I am talking about the lobes of the brain and the basic functions of each. Here are the lobes of the brain. We have the frontal lobe in the front, the parietal lobe just behind that, and in the back, we have the occipital lobe, and on the sides, we have our temporal lobe. Let's zoom into each lobe and learn the basic functions of each. Let's start with the frontal lobe. The frontal lobe's function is spread between aspects of personality and emotion, as well as movement. In front of the central sulcus, the most posterior portion of the frontal lobe is motor cortex. This is where all motor movements originate from. This little man is called a homunculus. It is a representation of the distribution of neurons within motor cortex. Notice how big the hands are and how small the trunk of the body is. Next, the parietal lobe. The parietal lobe is found behind the central sulcus, in front of the occipital lobe, and above the temporal lobe. The function of this lobe is associated with sensory cortex. This means this is how we feel the world around us. Like motor cortex, there is also a sensory cortex homunculus. Notice how big the mouth is. Now let's talk about my favorite lobe, the occipital lobe. This area functions as how we perceive the color and shape of our world. This very small area is where it all begins. The eyes wire to the optic tectum, then back to visual cortex. Lastly, let's talk about the temporal lobe. The function of the temporal lobe is for auditory processing. This is how we understand noises. Go figure, it's located right by the ears. With all of these lobes, these functions are very basic, meaning there are more complexities I will expand on in later videos. For example, where do you think memories are? I will give you a hint. The encoding process happens in an area of the brain called the hippocampus. That's it for today. Thanks for joining me on this week's episode of NeuroScoops. Make sure to like and subscribe to NeuroScoops and let me know what neuroscience topic I should cover in my next episode in the comments. Until next time, stay safe and be smart.